Hello and welcome back to my garage. You might have watched the video I put up a few weeks ago of fitting the Evotech TomTom satellite navigation mount. I mean, this mount has worked really very well. When you're on the bike, it sits in an absolutely perfect line of sight. It's really good for that. But now I've had a chance to actually be out on the road with it and use it for a bit of a run. What I have found, and by looking at various forums as well, other people have had the same kind of issue with it, not necessarily a complaint, but a minor issue, irritation. When you're riding on smooth roads, it just sits there rock solid, absolutely perfect. But if the road's rutted or a bit bumpy, and I'm not talking about going off-road here, just rough, normal tarred roads, you start to see the sat-nav bouncing up and down slightly, which can be a wee bit annoying. Sometimes it makes it a wee bit more difficult to actually see the data on it. So I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. And when you were riding along, if you just touched it, just a light touch with your finger, it would stabilise it, and it was just perfect. But you obviously can't ride along with one finger on the sat-nav. So I thought, I wonder what I can do about that, if anything. So, yeah, I have actually come up with a little modification for this, and I'll show you what it is. I'll take the screen off and we'll let you see what I've done. I've removed the screen, and what I've done is I've actually put a wee bracing bar across the top here to hold the sat-nav in position. And I was kind of looking around at what I had to maybe potentially do that, and then I thought, you know, the wee bar that came off that was used to raise and lower the windscreen would be the perfect size, and it actually is. So that's what I've actually done. I've mounted the bar in here across the top, and that gave me a perfect place to brace the sat-nav to. And what I then did was, I didn't really want to have it rigidly fixed to that, but what I've just looked in the bits and pieces that I've got a load of rubber O-rings, and I thought, you know, those O-rings would be really good. So I've got a couple of O-rings which are a decent length, and I've mounted them into the bracket, and they provide an absolutely perfect amount of shock absorption up the top. So now, when you're out riding, you still get a tiny wee bit of movement on it, but far less than it was before. And it tends to really just stabilise the top end, and it looks pretty darn good, I think. You don't really notice it. The mountings, when you're on the bike, all you see is the bar coming up, and you don't see the rubber mountings. And when the screen's on, you'd hardly notice it either. The only one downside is basically it's bolted onto the top here, and it takes up the two top spaces for the windscreen adjustment. So instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions, I'm now only down to 4 positions. So it's basically taking it down one. Which to me isn't a big issue. It works, it's perfect. Watch this wee video that comes up. You'll see it out when I was out actually riding with this modification on, and you'll see what it's like now. Unfortunately, I haven't got a video of what it was like before. I didn't actually do a before and after. I came out on the bike to test out the new mounting I put in for the sat-nav, because the last time I was out in it did seem to be bouncing a wee bit, especially on rough, bumpy surfaces. I've been coming along some smooth roads, and it's absolutely perfect. It just sits there crystal clear. This is a section of road along here that I know it's always a bumpy surface. So I would expect to bounce about a wee bit. So I'm going to see what it's like. At the moment we're doing 60 miles an hour, it's a 60 mile speed limit here. And although it is moving about slightly, it's nothing like it was. You can still see it really clearly, even though it's got that slight movement on it. So I personally think, yeah, it's been a bit of a success. It's definitely better
with those adaptive mountings that are fitted than it was without them. Yeah, I would say that's a success. An easy modification just by using what was the old adjusting bar and a couple of rubber O-rings.
That's the screen now back on again, and as you can see, it's very unobtrusive. You don't really notice the bar when you're riding the bike, when you're looking down at it. There's very little to see that's different. So it fits really well, and it looks good in my opinion. It works. Yeah, so really good. Following on from that, fitting this bracket, there was also some people inquiring as to how I actually powered the TomTom up, because I didn't include that in the video. It was only fitting the bracket itself. And since then, I've actually fitted a Evotech Thunderbox underneath the seat at the back there, and I use that Evotech Thunderbox to power the sat nav and also a socket for my heated clothing, which is great. It didn't mean having to break into any of the bike's wiring at all. You're not upsetting into the CAN bus system, and it works perfectly. Once the bike's engine started and it's running, the power's up the Evotech box, which means the sat nav and power goes to that socket. When the engine isn't running, it's dead, so there's no power goes to the sat nav or to that socket, so it's fine. It works really seamlessly. Anyway, I hope you found it useful. If you have this bracket and you get a wee bit upset that it is vibrating, that may be a solution for you. Or if you're thinking of buying that bracket, you might be a wee bit disappointed if you see it bouncing about. Again, I have to stress it's not that bad, but that was bad enough for me to actually want to make that wee adjustment, and I think it's much better, personally. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification icon, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, ride safe and take care. Bye for now.